The platform that you founded, called Traity, builds on that philosophy that we're talking about in terms of trust, and it basically focuses on helping those millions of different people who really don't have any credit history or any accounts or any other readily available and traditional sort of information that an insurer would go to or a credit agency would go to prove that they were trustworthy. So you found a way to get around that and create basically a network of trust for those individuals. Tell us about that.
Sure. So building on Rachel's comments, when you think about these people and these providers, they, in the same way that 20 years ago we had people who work in franchises, like at McDonald's, to be their first jobs and to build their, in a way, their team skills and their job skills. Today we're going to have micro-entrepreneurs or micro-franchises, and these people are taking forms of risk that they didn't have before. Before they only had to learn how to do that job and do it for the next couple of years until they moved on. So what is happening with this is that what we need are transferable benefits, such that people can actually take those jobs and move from one platform to another in a simple way. The first form of transferable benefit is going to be the reputation itself. So people have to be able to say, well, I'm going to mention Uber. So if I work for Uber and I'm gaining this reputation as a good driver, why can I not use that for Lyft? If Uber changes their rates or they change their algorithms or they change anything that affects me, why should I have to start from zero? And the same can happen for anything, like Airbnb. Why cannot I work at HomeAway, or why cannot I use my reputation as a micro-entrepreneur, as a micro-franchise anywhere else? Why do I have to start from zero just because somebody else decided to change their terms, etc.? So that's the first form of benefits. The second form of benefit is that in the same way that in the past we had a safe job and we worked at that job for several years, today we might be working in parallel in many different jobs and doing many different things, as it was mentioned before. And that leads to the idea of credit and credit worthiness. Today, if you want to get any form of credit, you are likely to be asked for your payslip or your paycheck, and that might not be so clear in the future when we have all these parallel platforms in which we operate. We have different sources of income, which you might call gigs or jobs or whatever, but they are different sources of income. So what we tried to build was a form of aggregating all that reputation into a single platform that allowed people to prove that they are trustworthy. I will give you a couple of examples about this, because what we're eventually doing is a form of pseudo credit score that is complementary to other forms of credit score. I moved to the US about 6 months ago, and the first need I had for a credit score happened on the first day as I moved there. I had to do two things. First of all, the landlord of the home I was going to rent asked me for $14,000 as a deposit. So just to move in, and you can imagine how that means that there is a tremendous barrier to enter for somebody who wants to move to a new country, where, think about it, when you move to a new country, what you're saying is, I'm going into a better life. That's why I move, otherwise I wouldn't move. So, and you are creating tremendous barriers just with that deposit. And a deposit is a form of insurance. It's just a very inefficient form of insurance. It's telling me, hello, I don't trust you, so please pay me 3 months in advance. That's basically what the deposit means. The second thing I had to do was to get a bank guarantee worth $40,000. And again, I didn't have a credit score, so Bank of America would not give me that form of bank guarantee for my landlord. So I was lucky that I had a friend who had been in the US for many years and had a good credit score, and he put that liability on his shoulders. That doesn't really make any sense. The fact that he has to put a liability of $40,000 just because a friend moves countries, it's absolutely ridiculous. So what we're building is that network of trust that allows me to prove that, or to show that my reputation from the past, based on all different sorts of data sources that we're using, can be used elsewhere. And the first form of actual usage for that, and we'll be releasing that in a couple of months, is precisely this bank guarantee. We're going to be guaranteeing people based on their reputations from all these different platforms. Guaranteeing people for the first requirement that they have, which is basically the tenancy. But there are many other forms of usage for this data. In fact, we just announced a partnership with AXA, one of the largest insurance companies in the world, and they're going to start to use the network of trust to price people, and they're going to price just anyone. They're going to focus on the youngest people, the people who don't have any background, any credit score history, any kind of history as an insuree. Network of trust, they already exist. When a father recommends their child to when they first get their first insurance for their cars, they are making an explicit recommendation. And so they're saying, well, my son has a similar background to me, they have a similar socioeconomic level, they have a similar potential behavior, and I recommend him. So what we are trying to do is, why do we only have this one explicit connection between parents and children? Why not use all these other transactions that are happening as recommendations and be able to use that for the benefit of the user? And if you think about it, when in the past we have been using the likes of Google and Facebook, they are using our identity and our reputation to make money. Why isn't it that I can use that data for myself to benefit? And this is a case where, as I said, insurance, credit, etc., there will be those transferable benefits where we will benefit from this data that, as Rachel mentioned earlier, is that trust that is being built every single transaction. Networks of trust, they have a very interesting characteristic that is very different from any other type of social network. I will give you the most clear network of trust that we will all understand, and that is what Mohamed Yunus did with microcredits, right? And I will simplify this tremendously, so please don't take it wrong if you don't think it's accurate, but when you give a credit to a person in Bangladesh, and that person doesn't have a collateral, and the collateral is the community, which is the way that kind of microcredit form worked. If that person didn't return the credit, the interest rate would increase for everyone else, for the community. That creates a tremendous peer pressure that goes beyond my need to return the credit because it will affect my credit score or I will be on a blacklist. It's a lot more moral. It elevates us. It focuses on, I don't want to hurt my friends. I care about my friends. There is a company called Friendsurance in Germany, which again does insurance services. They gather pools of people who are getting car insurance, and if you make a claim, it increases the premium for all your friends. So what that means is that you're not going to claim that little scratch in your car. You have a lot more bias towards behaving and not pushing things when they are just things that maybe you have done on your own and you don't care if they increase your premium for you because it kind of pays off, but now it's hurting your friends. That's a completely different form of pressure and of behaviors. What we're doing at the Network of Trust is to build that for the world, is to take that as far as possible into the people who are also offline. So for example, I might have eBay and reputation from Airbnb and blah, 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 but my mother doesn't. But if I recommend her and I vouch for her, I'm passing part of my reputation onto her, enabling her into the economic graph, enabling her into all these platforms to not have to start from zero. So we are building different forms of algorithms to make sure that everyone can be part of it.
Fascinating, fascinating. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open the floor now. What I was going to ask each one of them